Wait for it. Wait for it. Finally. Oh, we're there. It only took like 12 minutes this time. The aliens or Bloody Mary. You'll get it. So, hey, all you crazy sci-fi and fantasy fans, it's time for your daily dose of shenanigans over here at the Blasters and Blades podcast. Just a couple of nerdy veterans geeking out over our science fiction passions and fantastical fantasies. A place where magic is king, the sky is the limit, and space is the place. We are the podcast that puts the fun in dysfunction. So without further ado, we're going to let our guests introduce themselves. And we're going to start in alphabetical order and ladies first, because why not? So Miss Chloe Gardner, can you introduce yourself to our viewing audience who might not remember your last interview?
No, it's been just a little bit. I am once again Chloe Garner. You've confused the Gardner thing a few times now. I'm Chloe Garner, the fantasy and sci-fi author of the Verita universe and multiple other series. I love to write. I love to talk about science fiction and fantasy, and I am thrilled to be here.
Outstanding. We are thrilled that you are here. And then because we are gentlemen, Stabby Jr., Maddie, can you introduce yourself to our listening and viewing audience?
Okay, can you hear me?
We can.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, it's not saying I'm speaking, it's so laggy, but I'm Maddie. I'm gonna be a future screenwriter. And like last time, I am gonna be better than Tim Burton one day. And I'm also thrilled to be here.
Outstanding. We are glad you were here. James, he publishes as J.E. Pittman, but can you introduce yourself to our listeners and viewers?
Hi, I'm James, as he said, published as J.E. Pittman. My main series is the Felix Chance series, which is pretty much up the alley of the topic tonight. It's all about urban legends and urban fantasy. So glad to be here.
Outstanding. And since that sounds interesting and that's right up Stabby's alley, I mean, she is the queen of horror. We will definitely have to coordinate offline after this show and get you on to talk about just your series. We'll try to hold her back, though. She might go full fangirl, and it gets a little ugly. Nick has to clean up the pieces. It's a thing. Well, poor Nick.
Broom if you need it.
Yeah, she flew hers and lost it. The repo man got it from her. But
shop vacs work better.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know that. I'll do better next time, Stabby. All right, and John, can you introduce yourself to people that haven't watched your other episodes with us?
Hi, I'm John Epple, penciler, inker, and all-around smartass.
And douche.
Well, everybody's got to have a hobby.
Yeah, I mean, that's commendable. I made a career of it in the Army. I would have made staff sergeant if I was less of a douche. So,
well, I am a staff sergeant.
Staff sergeant Summer's Eve.
Yes. So apparently, this is what I learned in the Army, Stabby, is when an officer asks your opinion, they don't really want your opinion. They want their opinion regurgitated back to them. I made the mistake of actually giving my opinion, and they took my E6 promotion packet and they threw it in file 13.
Oh, that's rude.
I know. Don't ask my opinion.
It's me.
I believe it. I know. I promise I wouldn't tell on you, Nick. But anyway, all right. So we've got two guests.
I'm out.
Who hasn't answered the religion question. So, Chloe, since the last time you were on, we added a religion question because we are not knuckle-dragging troglodytes. We are civilized-ish. And the ish is doing a lot of heavy lifting. But coffee or tea, and how do you take it?
I'm not a grown-up, so I drink Coca-Cola.
Okay. Okay.
None of these grown-up. I still drink my soda, man.
Atta girl.
All right. And then, James, because you are new, you get to answer all of the religion questions. Are you ready for this, sir? There is a wrong answer.
All right. I'm ready.
All right. Star Wars, Star Trek, or Firefly?
All right. As a longtime listener, I've considered this one quite a bit. I grew up in the religion of Star Wars. I found Star Trek later in life, but I got to go Firefly.
Outstanding answer. We just got Stabby to watch the whole series, so now she knows all of our rage. Fox, where good shows go to die.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, Summer Glau is also who you cast if you want your show to die.
Kiss of
My
death.
issue wasn't that. Okay, so my issue is a little bit that they didn't give us all the answers that I wanted. But my biggest issue was you guys all told me beforehand that I wouldn't get all my answers.
Yeah, you had been warned.
Hey, I didn't say crap.
I did, though. I'm like, you're not going to get any answers. 2x2 hands of blue. Forget about it.
You're
And then when
still
they
gonna
promise
get
you a
it.
graphic novel, they still don't give you answers, those bastards.
Yeah.
All right,
Like,
and James, so you can join the religion question trilogy. We've got, because we're polytheistic, Game of Thrones, Wheel of Time, or Lord of the Rings.
All right. Each one a different category. So, Lord of the Rings for the film adaptation,
Okay.
Wheel of Time for the books, and Game of Thrones for the TV series.
Well thought out. I give it a 4 out of 5 stars.
Thank you.
Done. Well done. All right, and now you get to ask. Wow, I can speak, I promise. You get to answer the final question, sir. Coffee or tea, and how do you take it?
Well, I'm a Southern boy, so tea, iced. Used to be with sugar. I have to drink the unsweetened, aka poison now. But I have my own non-sugar sweetener. And when that fails, whiskey.
Attaboy.
Ooh, what kind of whiskey and how do you take it? This is an important question.
All right.
You either take it on
Scotch,
ice or
neat.
just
you don't want to poison it with the water. Or a good bourbon.
Okay. All right. Is that an acceptable answer, Nick and John? My bourbon aficionados.
I'll let it
that's
slide.
acceptable.
Yeah, I'm
I
still
don't
a
know
grown
well
up.
enough to harass him yet.
Yeah, I'm not a grown up. I drink my my whiskey with my Coke. You know, it's just one day I'll be a grown up and drink it straight,
What the
or maybe I'll be able to
hell?
afford the good stuff and it won't need to be hidden behind the Coke.
Oh, I drink mine with ginger ale.
Oh, that's
Irish
acceptable.
whiskey. That's what she drinks.
I still
Irish
drink my
whiskey.
tequila or my vodka, excuse me, with orange juice too, because that makes it healthier.
It's got a fruit.
Right? That's like good
It's
juice.
just a smoothie at that point. You got your potato vodka and you got your orange juice, so you got your vegetables and your fruit.
Yeah, it's
I'm going to
practically
tell
Sounds
it's
good.
when my
all
doctor
nutrition.
asks what I'm doing for my health, I'm like, I'm having a lot of smoothies, doctor. All right, now that we got that out of the way, the topic today is urban legends that tease and titillate us. So, first, what makes an urban legend?
Very good backstory.
Yeah, it's something that probably happened. More than likely, it was truthful, and then throughout the years, it gets exaggerated, elaborated on. Everybody has their little 2 cents. It turns into that tale outside the campfire. Like
Yeah, it's basically modern mythology and modern fairy tales.
So I did a
think
quick.
there's something mimetic about it, that this is something that can come up out of multiple cultures on different pathways, but it explains stuff that people see in life commonly. And it makes the scary stuff that you don't understand at least have an explanation that everybody can agree on, or at least pretend to agree on.
And it's funny
Okay.
how so many cultures can take different phenomena and spin very similar urban legends about them. Like, I was just kind of brushing up on a few earlier. Every culture has a bathroom urban legend, whether it's something coming from the mirror, something making you choose between like different things in the bathroom, or just something just stalking in the bathroom. Everyone has a different culture and a different thing.
Bathrooms are scary places, man.
especially if they don't flush.
No, I'm with Chloe on this one. Our power went out a couple weeks ago while I was in the shower.
Oh no!
So I started screaming for Nick, and my son tries to come and he's like, "Mom, the power went out." No shit!
Thanks for the update, shit ass.
Stand there in the shower in the dark.
In the dark, it's scary, man.
So an urban.
I got flashlights strategically placed throughout the house just in case stuff like that happens. So she's like, "Nick, come in here." I'm like, "Well, it's dark." She's in the bathroom. Hold on, let me grab this guy. Yeah.
So, according to Google, an urban legend is a myth or tale of a modern genre of folklore, consisting of fictional stories associated with the macabre, superstition, ghosts, demons, cryptids, extraterrestrials, creepypasta, not sure what that is, and other fear-generating narrative elements. Often, but not
how'd you say that word?
creepypasta.
Yeah, I've wondered
Macabre?
about that myself. I've heard the
Macabre?
term, but not familiar with it.
Say it one more time for me, JR.
Macabre, 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 maybe.
Macabre.
I only see it in writing. All right, I don't talk horror with people in real life.
Did you not watch Elvira's telephone?
I watched one of
television
her
show as a
movies the
kid?
other day.
Her movie Macabre.
You were the ones who introduced me to all things dark. Like I was a good boy before I met you guys.
Mhm.
I'm not sure I believe that.
Well, now you know it's macabre. And
All right, and they often, but not
Uncultured
always,
swine.
they are often, but not always, having a root in actual history of an area.
Yeah.
So that is why, like, you know, Bloody Mary is sometimes tied to the Scottish Queen, but not always. Just like the or the handmaid of Count. What is it? The guy that did all the stuck the guys on the poles. I'm drawing a blank on his name now.
Dracula.
The guy that's the basis for the Dracula.
Vlad Tepes or something like that.
Yeah.
Well, Vlad Dracul, Vlad, son of the dragon.
So, Maddie, what is it about urban legends that you enjoy so much that you volunteered to come back?
I like the way that they're always speculated and how mysterious they are. It keeps drawing me in with how mysterious they get and how in depth they can get. It's like it just makes me want to know more.
Okay, and for everyone else that we'll go from there, what is it about urban legends that you guys like?
I like the way
All
that
right,
they
slow down,
describe-
everybody. Not everybody go at once.
I like the way that they describe people's relationship to nature and to culture and to the situation going on around them. You look at stories like vampires and you're trying to figure out what happens to you after you die. Do you come back and drain life off of people who are still alive? Do you need to shove bricks into somebody's mouth to make sure that they don't eat you after they're dead? It's trying to solve big, hard problems with stories. And I love that. And it explains a lot about why people feel the way that they do about the things that scare them. It's fascinating.
Okay. I like that. What about you, James? What is it about urban legends that you like so much you wrote books in that space?
Because it's basically the everyday unordinary, just kind of like little bits of magic in the real world. Because, you know, everybody's got like a Bigfoot story. Everybody's got some kind of like ghost sighting or, you know, something that went bump in the dark that they just couldn't explain, regardless of any strategically placed flashlights. So it's just kind of like at the edge of, you know, your consciousness and your awareness, like every day. It's always with us. So I like playing off of that in my writing.
Okay. What about you, John?
Little bits of what everyone else has said. I've always been enamored with horror of various degrees for as long as I can remember. And I look at a lot of these urban legends as real or potentially real horror. Because sometimes what you don't see is what scares you so much. And for whatever reason, my crazy ass can't seem to get enough of it.
Okay. Stabby Stab and Nick, you guys want to weigh in because you were the ones that suggested the topic.
Yeah, I like, because it is modern folklore. You know, when people talk about urban legends, they're talking about scary shit that they heard at a slumber party once or around a campfire. So you have, you know, and some of them are warnings like don't drink Pepsi while you're eating Pop Rocks, you know, or somebody has a story from their town where some little old lady wanted to dry her dog faster after a bath and threw it in a microwave. Or
isn't that what you're supposed to do with chihuahuas?
Yeah, and that's just out of kindness to humanity. Not trying to dry him, you're trying to kill him. But little devil mutts. And then you got you know, like the girl that fell asleep and she got bit by a spider and it started swelling and eventually it popped and all these other little spiders came out, you know, and creeped her out. You know, or, you know, When a Stranger Calls, that was all based off of urban legend. like, why aren't you checking the children? It's stuff to scare folk or have some sort of cautionary tale. Like I've never eaten Pop Rocks and was like, grab a soda and be like, oh no, I don't want my stomach to explode. Let me get a water, which was horrible. One day I had Pepsi with Pop Rocks, and that shit changed my life. That was amazing. It was a spiritual experience because it was just fizzy and popping in my mouth, and you could feel it like go all the way down to your stomach, and then you get a big burp after it, and you're like, I am the king of the world.
All right, Stabby, try to bring this back to the realm of, I don't know, classy or something.
So I think when it comes to urban legends, it's the good and the bad. Because let's face it, there is good and there is bad. You guys were talking about Bloody Mary. That could easily be, your brain trying to, make you realize that somebody in your life or yourself is going through postpartum. But then you can eyeball me all you want.
I've never heard that before, so you get the side eye for that.
You haven't been through it. It's a whole different. That story takes on a whole different life when you think you're going to chop your kid's fingers off by clipping their nails. Okay.
Make sure you film that.
Just saying. It's a whole new fear unlocked. But there's the good side of it too, if you think about it, because you have, Santa Claus.
Oh.
Because at one point or another, he was just a dude trying to do something nice for a poor village, but now he's, zipping around the world in one night, giving presents to every freaking kid. So I'd take him as an urban legend any day of the week.
Yes.
Yeah, I like
cartel members.
I like to play with the strong sense of good and evil that you get out of urban legends, where you have something that you can just go against with everything you've got. And there is evil in the world, and in people it's complicated, but if it's just an evil thing, you can kill that sucker dead, and you don't have to really stop and think about it. You can go and fight the evil, and you can be on the side of good, and it becomes simple. And the hero stories associated with urban legends are just kind of freeing in a way to talk about things in a way that the world is not naturally that simple.
So for me, the reason I enjoy urban legends, even before I thought, okay, this is definitely horror, it's basically modern oral history. So it's like a tie with our past. Those stories that we tell ourselves, that our parents told themselves when they were 12, maybe even their parents. Like it's a connection with those that went before us and those that will come after, who will tell the same damn cheesy ghost stories around the campfire when they're at a Boy Scout trip that we told X number of years ago. So
I also like that the bad people in those folk tales always get what's coming to them.
Mm-hmm.
I've always enjoyed that about them as well.
Except Candyman.
Well, never said it was perfect.
Just saying, dude's still out there as far as we all know.
So you mentioned Candyman. Does everybody? We'll go around the table as it were. Do we have a favorite urban legend?
Not off the top of my head. I mean, I may like some more than others, but I'm just look at them as generally as horror, and either I like it or I don't.
I don't know. For me, my favorite was always Bigfoot, because the idea that something that's basically prehistoric could still exist is just kind of appealing to the history nerd in me. So I don't know. I've always had a special place in my heart for Bigfoot. I laugh hysterically when people put on the Bigfoot suits and then they try to scare people, only they don't take into account the people they're scaring have guns and trucks and they get shot and run over. I mean, Darwinism for the win, right? But all those stories around Bigfoot just amuse me, and how they've all dried up once modern cell phones and cameras just,
And why is there always the most terrible picture you could possibly ever take?
Yeah, it's because I'm convinced all of them are frauds. So if you want to make the fraud believable, you have to make it harder to detect your fraud. So the blurry image. I was just so scared. I was shaken. I wanted to be true.
Whether it's Bigfoot, Loch Ness, the Jersey Devil, anything like that, is always the absolute worst photograph in existence.
Yes.
think that's what made them so much fun.
Yep.
Is it real? Is it?
All right, so Maddie, you were asking about your favorite if it counted, and since we've all said yes, why don't you tell us yours?
Mine would be Slenderman. I kind of grew up with that. I grew up watching videos with it. It's been an interest to me, especially with like the whole speculation of like him leaving pages behind. I watched the documentary. It's really good, by the way. A lot of people think it's boring. I think it's good. I think it's something that came more naturally to me. It's kind of just the way he works. It's really interesting to me.
Now, did you watch both documentaries on that?
There's two.
There's two. There's one about the story of how he came to be, and the one of the girls that took it way too literal.
I've seen the one about the girls, but I haven't seen the one about how he came to be.
You know, Maddie, with us being from Las Vegas, we actually have a really big one, and that's Gators in Lake Mead.
How would you get?
I don't like that one. As much as I hate to say it, I don't like that one.
That's because you swim in the water.
I've never swam in Lake Mead, and I never will. That place creeps me out.
Ghouls.
Okay, so what about you, James? Do you have a favorite urban legend?
So I've been deep diving a lot lately. Bigfoot is near and dear to my heart because Bigfoot was a main character in the last book. I've also been researching the urban legends around stuff like Mount Shasta and the shadow people. Those are pretty fun. Just kind of, you go out to the cliffs at sunset and you just see these like 7-foot tall shadows just looming up and just vanishing. And it's just all kinds of unexplained stuff with that. I also really enjoy liminal spaces like the clip rooms and you just kind of fall through reality type things. Those are always fun. It's like you never know where you're going to like stumble through a portal to some place you can't get out of. So that's just kind of always, it's like kind of creepy, kind of like, ooh, I'm gonna go look for that. Let's see if we can find something.
Okay, all right, John, you've had time to think. Do you have a favorite yet? No peer pressure or nothing.
No, I'm not big on favorites. Usually either I like something or I don't. Because I'm not enthralled. That's not the right word. Fascinated is probably a good word. Just about the general idea of how can something like this actually happen, and then people believe it so urgently. It's like they couldn't possibly think that it could never actually happen, but yet they still can't provide a legible picture of whatever it is that they're talking about, like Bigfoot or sometimes the different cultures are just as interesting. Doesn't Australia have one like the Babadook or something like that? I think that's like their
shitty movie.
Well, yeah, but I think it was like their version of like Slender Man or something like that. So I've always found that interesting too, to see how different cultures interpret pretty much the same thing.
All right, Stabby and Nick, I know you guys got a lot to say on this one.
When it comes to urban legends, I've always been kind of fascinated by like the alligators in New York sewers, the Wendigo up north, Yeti, which is like Alaskan Bigfoot. Where's something else? I was just thinking about them too.
It's never a Wendigo.
It's always a Wendigo. The Winchesters told me that. That's why I carry salt and shit in my trunk.
Well, Scooby-Doo taught me that it's always the man in the mask. So.
That's Scooby-Doo, yeah. It's Old Man Withers. He's been behind it the whole time, gang.
Always.
So, that's the cool thing about urban legends. They range from big and small. It's an oral history, which I dig. I mean, a lot of religions are based on that. Not saying that I don't believe in one of them. But it's a way to explain the unexplainable. It's like, oh man, all my goats are missing. Well, that's good. If you're down south, orale, man, that's a chupacabra, you know?
Mhm.
Or if you're over by like the Rio Grande River and you hear like somebody crying, that's La Llorona. Stay away from there.
We're too close to Mexico. You need to stop talking about that.
Okay, so here's a funny story about how that urban legend relates to my job and how I got people to quit crossing for the night. I just put it on a speaker of a woman, weeping while there was a large group getting ready to cross the Rio Grande River, and all I heard was like, "Oh, esa la Llorona," and they like didn't cross. Actually, went further back into Mexico because they thought the weeping woman was there waiting for them, and it was just it's just es mío.
So there was actually the CIA used that for psyops against the North Vietnamese because they were so superstitious, where they would actually play the sounds of like people whimpering and telling them it's not worth it to go back, and they thought it was the souls of the of their dead that were not buried and given whatever their funeral process was, so they were cursed to wander forever, and so they had them convinced through just dropping speakers that would play these sounds that not to invade certain areas because the ghosts.
I like
so you could weaponize it too if people are superstitious. I've heard stories that they convinced people in Afghanistan that the Garmin GPS systems were actually lie detector tests, and they would electrocute you if you lied. And so they'd have one of the GIs put their hand on it and say, "Are you an American soldier?" "No," and then he'd like flop on the ground like he was being electrocuted. And then they would get the other, and that's how they get information out of them. So like, I think urban legends at their root, I think, are probably based in our superstition, which is part of our more primal nature. Like the monkeys that were a little bit more afraid didn't get eaten by the lions because they stayed in the groups, right? It's Darwinism, basically.
I am that monkey.
Yeah.
Around here we call it the dumb duck. He's the one who lands all by himself, and then everybody comes and joins in. But the dumb duck is the one who gets eat.
Yeah. So what about you, Stabby? What is it that about urban legends? Do you have a favorite?
I think.
Is it La Llorona? Tell me why it's La Llorona.
We are too
language.
It's my one F-bomb. I never use them.
She's like, I've cashed on this episode.
You won't stop.
I get 5 a season.
All right, favorite.
Every state has one or multiple, depending on the state. And I just find it so fascinating when you're driving through it, when you're going to stay there, to find out what it is. And one specific one that I've heard all the way from here to Ohio and back is the stairs in the woods. You randomly come across a set of stairs in the wood, leave them alone. Don't go up them, don't go near them, don't talk about them, don't take pictures of them. Walk away, because it's stairs to the other side, and you ain't coming back.
Do you have to pay taxes there? Because if you don't, I'm going.
That one's actually international. It's not just limited to every state. You get those in like Japan and Europe too that I'm aware of. Same thing. It's just stairs to the other side. They just mysteriously appear in the woods, and the unwary go up them.
Even the cops I was living in Illinois. The cops out there were like, "Yo, you didn't see shit. You didn't see nothing." Like, but I mean, I saw them, and they're like, "No, you fucking didn't."
Ooh, she said a naughty word, JR.
You kiss your mother with that mouth?
Yeah. Geeking taught me that word.
Okay, and so we don't want her mother to come and haunt us. So one of those, because you mentioned Las Vegas, I don't even know that your mom's dead. That probably was the wrong phrase of.
No, she's very well alive.
Good. So one of the urban legends that came up on my search for Las Vegas was the idea of the decomposing body in the mattress, which is kind of funny, I guess, because I've heard that I grew up in a coastal town too, a resort town too. And I heard the same thing, like, oh, there's the mattress, the decomposing body under the mattress. And so, like, when I would stay at hotels as a kid, I would always look under the bed because I was just convinced I was just going to find a body. So I think the transient, like, stories associated with transient housing, like where you know it's not your house, so you don't have the safety of that, and then the scary things are there. I think there's some universality in that too.
Mm-hmm.
So, is there any, before we go to the commercial, does anybody have the a favorite local one?
It's not specifically local to me, but I really like the architectural patterns that they use to keep demons out and to keep witches out and things, where you put a wall right inside of the door because the demon can't turn once he comes into your house. Or the stairs that are uneven because witches can't go up uneven stairs and stuff like that. The piles of salt that you leave to keep things from messing with you because you have to stop and count all of the salt, all of these strange behaviors that you look at them now, or you even find the evidence of them in places that people have been, and they put so much energy into preventing the bad things from happening because they could personify them. And yeah, those are really fun, and a lot of them are super local.
What about you, James? Do you have any favorite local ones?
Again, it's kind of more universal, but everyone has this kind of flavor, like the churchyard Grims, where the idea that the spirit of the first body buried in a church graveyard protects and guards that graveyard. So what they would do was they would unfortunately kill a dog and bury the dog there, and that's what became the guardian of that churchyard. So you got the churchyard Grim. That one's, I know it's in South Carolina, it's in Georgia. It goes all the way back to like Welsh mythology and English mythology and lore. So, it's one of those things that's like, it always pops back up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I've heard similar stories too. What about you, Chloe?
There's a really interesting one that just familiar to the graveyard guardian. I think it's a Jewish one where a spirit would come and protect graveyards and the souls of the dead, and if you came and defaced graves, that spirit would come after you and kill you for being disrespectful to the spirits that live there in a graveyard. I've played with a lot of these things, and they get complicated in my head because I remember the way that I played with them, and I hate doing a disservice to the original story, but they share so many themes that they all get real tangled up in my head with what was that original story, and what did I play with, and what did somebody else play with, and what was that on Lost Girl? Dang, Lost Girl has messed up all of these stories in my head.
For a second there, I thought you were actually playing with the Graveyard Guardians.
No, I don't go dance with them.
They can't keep a tune or rhythm. It's horrible.
We have one that's local. They call it Elbow Road. It's just a sharp turn. So, when they say slow down on this section, they mean it. But of course, kids don't listen. So every couple of years, somebody dies there. So the legend is that the ghost of so and so who died is wandering, trying to get you to die too. Which I don't know. It's just a weird. But I've done some looking. There's a similar one in Chicago. There's a similar one in New York where for whatever reason you die and you want other people to die with you on the same road you died. I've seen some.
Yeah, and there's been some additions to that one too. A lot of that urban legend in particular parts, usually I think in the Midwest and the South. If you go down that particularly, haunted death road and you park your car at the time of death of that person, you'll feel the car move like they're pushing it. They want you to go further down that road, and then you go and you check, and there's like handprints on there, some bullshit. I think a lot of urban legends are done as a warning. So,
most of the ones I know of are some kind of warning, like don't do this or so and so is going to come and get you.
Yeah.
So the kind of scary tales that the parents would tell kids back in the day, don't go out there because insert scary thing, but really they were worried about something as mundane as a bear.
Yeah.
It's a big bad wolf.
Yeah.
All over the place. Don't go out into the woods because evil lurks there.
The big bad wolf will get you. Bobby, you guys out there, man.
Well, in case we scared you and we got you down, we're going to get your heart rate back up with this awesome commercial for the most amazing job I've had in a while. Take that, Starbucks. All right, we got to work on that smooth transition now. That's Stabby, his first attempt at making a commercial. I would say A for effort, 9 out of 10 stars. Yay! He's learning how to do video editing for us.
He's doing good.
Why I was late because I was editing a video. A lot of distractions.
Trying to get Maddie's face blurred on previous episodes.
Look, you didn't tell us she was in WITSEC, all right? If you had told me, I'd have known to do that.
Dude, I don't work WITSEC. I get them to the stash house. I don't keep the records.
Look, all right. I'm just saying.
I'm
some of the mobs.
I'm sorry.
Some of the mobs have disappeared from Las Vegas. I'm not saying it had anything to do with Stabby's testimony, but I'm not saying it either. All right.
It didn't disappear. It became a local union.
All right. So let's get back to urban legends before we put John to sleep. So, John, have you written about any urban legends?
Not yet, but there's always the potential. I mean, I jot down ideas, and I'll get a random idea that I conveniently can't do anything about at the moment. Try to write it down so that when I can come to it or add something to a story later, I try to.
Okay. So, Chloe, have you incorporated any into your writing?
Oh, absolutely. I have an urban fantasy series that is very long running at this point that has a heavy emphasis on you have your good, you have your evil, and then you have your people. And at the end of the day, the people are usually the ones who do all of the worst stuff. And so I've played with so many of the demi-humanoid stuff. I've played with zombies and with vampires and with shifters and with chupacabra and goblins and ghouls and all of this, and it's always the humans up to the worst of the worst stuff, whether it's because they have urban fantasy magic legend kind of behaviors or because they're just messed up people. But I've played with the roots of a lot of that kind of stuff, and those are some of the most fun stories to tell.
Okay. What about James? You've mentioned that you've written some urban fantasy into your stories. Are there any that you've used that you especially like, and then any going forward that you think would be compelling?
Yeah. So Felix is basically a walking Twilight Zone, so anything urban legend is fair game for him. Bigfoot's been a big one. I have a shape-shifting shade who is kind of haunting a place and kind of stuck there, so she's twisted around. Devil at the Crossroads, that's been a big one. I played with like a couple of hitchhiker legends, some Vegas stuff. I would love to work in some like Mothman stuff and some just basically whatever else comes up that I find interesting and funny.
All of that's fun to draw. If it's creepy and messed up, I probably like drawing it.
True.
Creepy and messed up, I like writing about it.
Yeah.
And typically turning it on its head.
Because I have a zombie story that I'm working on. A friend of mine wrote it, and then he lets me add my 2 cents in. So when I have some kind of smart aleck remark or something inappropriately funny to add to it, I'll do that, or I'll just straight up hide stuff in the background just to see if anybody notices that I did something.
Zombies in bikinis is really interesting, and I've seen you draw that.
Yep.
I was like,
subversive. I love it.
It's like new kid.
I took that picture just for you, Nick. Nick, I took that picture just for you, and you said you'd do nothing with it, and you sold it to John, and I just will never forgive you.
Why? We all get a kickback. His success is ours.
All right. So what about you, Nick? You've mostly done capes and cowls, superheroes, and the like, but you and I have talked offline about your wanting to branch out to do more than just that with Apogee. So if you were going to dive into the world of urban legends, do you have one you think would be the most fun to do first?
Oh, as far as like, yeah, okay. I really kind of want like a John Constantine, Dylan Dog type character. You know,
Those
someone
are
goes
fun.
out, you know, because you're not just worried about who's going to blow up the bank or steal the girl or to send, you know, mind-eating robots or whatever dumb shit that I come up with.
We'll make ours
Irish.
We'll make ours Irish instead of English. That way he'll be funny.
There we go. Yeah. Or Australian and just talks like Crocodile Dundee the whole time. Maybe the same getup. He's dealing with like, you know, crocodile or alligator, crocodile freaking mysteries or whatever. But something like that would be cool. And I really kind of want to. I would tackle things like the chupacabra, and I would probably have them more based around like the border, so like Arizona, New Mexico, Texas. You know, somewhere around there where we have the desert, because they have a lot of crazy stories. And that culture, that border town culture, you know, because it's a merger, it's an amalgamation of the United States and Mexico. So our urban legends, their urban legends, they get kind of blended, put in the blender, you know, and they make some pretty scary shit. So, yeah, that's probably something I would like to going further with some of my characters, is developing one that's deals with that underbelly, you know, the stuff that we don't talk about, the you know, the boogeyman under the bed, the guy out in the woods, you know, that kind of stuff. The skinwalkers. Oh, that'd be fun to do too.
I have messed with that a little bit.
Yeah,
go on. Not a story yet, but I've messed with it.
You know, like the dog scratching on the outside door, and the person's like, "But my dog is inside. What the hell is scratching at my door right now?"
I suddenly don't care. It can stay out there.
I suddenly want a shotgun full of rock salt. You know,
dimes.
No. If you're dealing with a skinwalker, you want a high speed shoot his ass with salt. It's gonna burn, and he's gonna be mad, and he's gonna go away.
So I don't know. I always like the monster out of time, kind of like, which is what the Yeti Sasquatch is. It's what Loch Ness Monster is. There's a few others that are basically cryptids, which are, you know, prehistoric in nature. I like that the history and nerd in me it appeals to. So if I was going to do something, I'd probably do that. And Nick, you said California has a Nessie in the side comment, so tell us more.
They do. There's a place up in the, I want to say it's the foothills. I'm not 100% sure, but I know it's up in the mountains. And there's a lake up there called Clear Lake. It has really good visibility, hence the name Clear Lake. But they have their own Nessie called the Clear Lake Monster. And when my parents told me about that, we were visiting some friends. They had this back patio with a hammock that overlooked the lake. And I asked them, like, "Hey, you guys got any binoculars?" And I didn't sleep at all that night. I was so fascinated with this little urban legend. I was trying to find this damn thing all night. And they found me in the morning, dead, obviously. No, I mean asleep.
Drunk.
No, I was 8, dude. What the fuck?
I was drunk. He was 9. What kind of gender do you think he is?
Dude, drinking age is 10, bro.
So there's also Tahoe Tessie.
Tahoe who?
Tahoe Tessie.
Tahoe Tessie. That's a bleep rip off. I'm sorry, Zane got sued.
Well, you know, there's a whole industry around Loch Ness where like they get paid to sell things to the tourists, so they're never disproving that one. You know what I mean? That's a cottage industry that's been for 100 years.
I do have one of the, I guess, Google search windows on my phone open for North Carolina urban legends, just because I wanted to tinker with that, just to see if anybody that reads my comics would actually recognize anything I threw in there, because I like to put random stuff in there that people wouldn't expect.
Like fighting well-known bands, rock bands.
I did. And I actually went so far as to make my own supergroup of different dead rock stars and threw them in there just to see if anyone would recognize who I did. The 27 Club for rock stars is a big one that supposedly the urban legend is they all died on their 27th birthday or at 27. Yeah. So Stabby, Maddie, if you were, future screenwriting, you're making a movie, which would be the first urban legend you would want to incorporate into one of your horror?
I'd have to go with what Stabby said earlier about the stairs in the woods. I feel like if I kind of did something more with it and made it into a movie, I feel like it'd be a good movie. I think if I really wanted to make a movie happen, I'd probably make the characters do something with the stairs and then bad stuff starts happening. But I find it really interesting. Like Stabby said, I don't mess with that. I see stairs in the woods, I'm gone. I say nothing, I'm gone. I think it'd be really cool.
That one always freaked me out, but I think the one urban legend that like scares me more than all of them, because I mean we all did Bloody Mary as a kid and Candyman as a kid and everything. I think the one that freaked me out the most, to this day I still check my back seat, was high beams.
Oh yeah, I forgot that one. Elaborate for people who don't know what we're talking about.
So the story with high beams is this girl stops for gas. She sees this guy coming out. He's like yelling and telling her to wait, and she freaks out. She gets in her car. She starts driving. And he gets in his truck and he's following her. And he randomly like turns on his high beams. And she's like freaking out. She goes all the way home as fast as she can, and every once in a blue moon he'll hit his high beams, and the whole time she thinks he's after her. And when she gets home, she jumps out of the car. She comes running up the door. Her dad's standing outside. The guy in the truck jumps out of his car and he goes, "No, it's not me. It's the guy in your back seat. He would duck down every time I turned on my high beams." And the guy comes out of the back seat. He's got a knife. He was fully intending to kill her, but the guy turning on his high beams was keeping her alive. So that one always stuck with me, especially considering I would drive between Las Vegas and California to see this turd burglar.
Mr. Turd burglar to you.
And I would typically leave after work. So it's a 6-hour drive. I'd leave at 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock at night. I wasn't getting here till 1 or 2 in the morning. I'd have to stop at rest stops. I'd have to stop at gas stations. So I was constantly like, even though I knew I locked my car, I would still double check my back seat before I got in my car. Because that one's always stuck with me. Like, what if somebody is in my backseat? That one time
it's such a trope. The head comes up between the two headrests in the rear view, and it's like, no, I check my backseat every time I get in the car, man.
Every time.
Well, in Vegas too. Who's gonna sit
I'm a
in the
kid of
backseat
the
all day? You could die.
Well, I grew up during the Cold War, so like I was more worried about spies, so I was checking under the car too. I don't know what I ever thought I had important enough that they were going to spy on me for, but the Family Readiness Command had us all convinced that there were Reds around every corner waiting to steal our information.
Damn commies.
Back when we thought a desk would protect you from a nuclear blast, the good old days.
This movie came out when we were kids, JR. Did you ever watch Rooskies?
Yes.
There's a movie about a
Good
bunch
movie.
of
That sounds familiar.
I came across a deserted Russian sailor. It was
Nice.
pretty cool.
Nice.
Probably
So-
sucked,
I'm
but
sending you
that's
a couple pictures, JR.
Okay. So what about you, James? Are there any that is there a reason you think some urban legends stick around longer than others? Some die on the vine and some have staying power?
So for myself, none really kind of like stick with me until recently. I started reading about you ever heard of the Dybbuk box?
Yeah.
The
No.
cursed. It's basically a World War II relic from I think some Jewish mysticism. They summoned a spirit of protection, and then it started killing everything, including the bad people and the people it was trying to protect. So they bound it in this wine cabinet. And so it supposedly was satisfied and stayed bound for a while until the people that did the binding passed away. And so the unsuspecting kept, getting their hands on this, and everybody who this box went to started having, terrible dreams, series of misfortunes, diseases, just everything just was like kind of just everything bad was befalling them, and they could not get rid of it. It was just like this cloying presence of evil. And no matter what they did to try to appease it, it just stuck with them. And once I read that story, it stuck with me too until I wrote a story to get it out of my head and inflict it on other people.
Okay.
They just did a movie about that one, about a Dybbuk box. I can't remember what it was called.
it was
It's
an episode
basically
of
Pandora's
Supernatural.
box.
I want to say it was The Possession.
Oh, man.
Those are what I'm talking about. You don't mess with the
Mhm.
stairs. No, you don't. Nope. They just, and to anybody walking past them, they go to nowhere. But apparently, if you mess with them, you going somewhere.
You know me, honey. If we go walk in the woods and see that, I'm going to sprint towards it. I'm coming, Jesus.
Damn.
There's also a surprising number
That's
of
like a
stories
grip.
about. Yeah, there's a surprising number of stories about mystical cats of various, marshes and moors that go around and just kill people. Which, having met a few cats, I mean, it fits. Jacked up cat on steroids, yeah, it's going to kill some people.
Yep.
It goes back to the Egyptians.
That's a cat.
Basically. So,
cat goes way
Or
longer.
have you seen like the pictures of the Maine Coons that are basically Grimalkin? The
Yeah.
giant cats that are sitting on the edge of dressers. I'm like, okay, that would. If I saw that in the middle of the night, that would freak me out.
there's
Yeah,
also
pretty
a lot of stories tied back to dead witches from yesteryear that are haunting to get even on the families or whatever of people that killed them. And a lot of the ones,
Sorry.
I should say a lot of the ones, it's almost like the message is, make sure someone's actually evil before you kill them, because if you like murder them, you might turn their spirit evil because it's going to want vengeance. Because, in some cases it was like, oh, she was a healer, but because she used herbs instead of Jesus, we got to kill her. And, talking about the American Puritan past. And so then you end up with those spirits wanting to seek vengeance.
Can you
There's a decent
imagine
number of stories.
11 herbs and spices on your chicken?
I know, right? What would the world be if they hadn't persisted?
We have a world without KFC, and that's a sad world.
That's a sad world. The Colonel, I mean, what would he ever have done? He might have been a car salesman. All right, Stabby, you had something to add.
There's actually a town on the East Coast. I can't remember what it's called, and I was just trying to figure out which state it was in. But there's a town you cannot go to. You're not allowed.
Roanoke?
That might be it. No, that doesn't sound right.
I saw
No.
Chloe's eyes light up, so we don't talk about Roanoke.
It might be, but there's a town out there that the town itself moved everybody out. They shut down that town, and if you go in there, even if you get injured, they will not come in and save you.
Oh, there is
Like-
one in Pennsylvania where they had the underground fire that's still burning and it's toxic.
Mm.
And they told everyone to leave, and some people didn't, and they just won't go get them. But I think it's more from toxic exposure.
I'm not sure that I can't remember what it's called, but you're
It's
just
Centralia, Pennsylvania is the name of the city, and it's on fire still, like the underground.
Yeah, the underground
gas
coal just.
I wish I could remember.
Yeah.
But I was looking for it. I was like, man, I cannot remember what it's called, but I saw it just randomly. It popped up through my YouTube feed actually, and it was like just random places you cannot visit, and talked about like Snake Island and stuff, and Sentinel Island. Like they won't come save you from that either, but like this town is like right here, and people used to live in it, and they say it's so haunted that you're not allowed to visit it. And if you go in there and something happens to you, good luck, because we ain't coming for you.
In Silent Hill, you're screwed.
Right? And
So-
the random pictures that you find of it, that's what it looks like. It's very Silent Hill vibes.
Centralia?
Yeah, Centralia, Pennsylvania is the one that comes to mind. So is there any, like, obviously urban legends are all over the place, everything from extraterrestrials to cryptids to, ghosts and ghouls. Is there an underlying theme that unifies all of them besides just that they're scary?
They adapt.
For me, it's always the lesson learned that I liked, because nothing ever happened to good people in those stories. It's always the evil shithead that did something that he wasn't supposed to do. And it's like, oh, nothing's going to happen to me. Look, I'm going to do it. And then lo and behold, karma bites him in the butt, sometimes almost immediately. And suddenly they regret their decision for being a shithead.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What about you, James?
Am I back? Sorry, my Wi-Fi is cutting in and out.
Yeah, you're back. So what about you? Is there a unifying theme, you think?
So I really enjoy the other aspect, the kind of trying to make sense of that weird thing that you saw out of the corner of your eye, or understanding the random stairway to nowhere, or the just door that appears in the middle of the woods. Also very, very creepy. Do not go through those. But I that's the main thing I like about them, is just kind of trying to explain the random weird things that you encounter every day, and just kind of make sense of them in terms of like your normal everyday life.
Okay. What about you?
I think there's
Chloe?
an answering of what and an answering of why for questions that don't necessarily have answers that you can go prove out with the scientific method. What happens after you die? Why do people behave so badly to each other? What was that noise? That you come up with a story that, even if it's still a terrifying story, the story is more comforting than the not knowing.
Okay. Do you have anything to
I'm
add,
not
John?
sure how much, huh?
I was going to say, you have anything to add?
I think someone had mentioned something about Roanoke, and since I'm from North Carolina, that's always been one that's entranced me. It's like, how can an entire colony of people just disappear?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, just poof, magic. I mean, I don't know what, but because even if it were the Native Americans that got rid of them, there would still be some proof that pilgrims had been there. But that's always fascinating me. Like how, it's like I think that's what got me started on American Horror Story, was that season they had about Roanoke. And I was like, what is going on? I mean, anything I can always try to learn about it, I try to, because I just cannot seem to get enough of it.
Yeah, as a Virginian myself, like the Roanoke story has always appealed to me. At first, we thought, well, they went towards what is now North Carolina, and they joined the local tribe. They've done some DNA testing, and they found that not to be true. They do know that tribe had contact with the English because they spoke the language when the people came back later. And some of the housing designs they were doing for their longhouses looked surprisingly familiar. So we're like, oh, they just blended in with the natives. But they did the DNA testing and proved that wasn't true. And now there's been a recent discovery of a map that had because maps were expensive to make, where the Roanoke colony was. They actually sewed something over it to like cover it up. It was like on the map. So they're thinking that maybe they just moved for, weather related reasons. And so with this map, they might know where to redig for the new settlement. That doesn't explain how the answers were gone for so long. Like, why wouldn't that have been documented? Like, we found them 12 miles over.
Yeah, it was like people and everything, from what I understand. It just like nothing was there anymore.
One of the ladies that was there was connected politically. I don't remember exactly, but her dad was somebody back in England. And so the idea that they would just have left, I don't know. It's the unknown is partly what's fascinating about that story.
Yeah.
It'd almost be sad if we get the answers. On the one hand, like, I really do want to know, but on the other, it's like, yeah, but then the mystery's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes speculating about is half the fun of it.
Yeah, they even covered that in the Glorious Winchester series, that it was some sort of demon virus.
More than likely, the simple
That
answer is
explains it.
the county clerk didn't do the records right, and they just picked up and moved to something that was more lush and sustainable. It's probably a very simple answer, but it leaves that air of mystery, so people's minds are going to go nuts. Aliens, ghosts.
If I could travel in time, that is one of the mysteries I would like to go and figure out. I want to know how they built Stonehenge. I want to know how they really built the pyramids, because I don't think it was aliens, and I'd like to see what happened to Roanoke. That's my 3.
Damn, you got a list?
Don't you? That's going to tell me you don't have a favorite dinosaur.
Dude, do I look like a dude with a plan?
Jeez. All right. If you're going to invent your own cryptid, because we are at the hour mark, I promise we try to keep it on time. We haven't been doing a good job of that lately, but maybe one day, if you could make your own urban legend with some of the themes that you guys liked about others, what would you do first? Maddie, if you're going to make up your own, tell us what the cool kids are saying.
Oh my gosh, you gave me no time to think, but from what I'm thinking so far, I'm not sure if you guys have seen the movie Talk to Me. It's a newer horror movie that was released lately. As I was saying earlier, I'd probably do something like that, kind of mixed with like the stairs in the woods. I think that would be kind of something cool. I don't know what object it would be, obviously, but I think some concept between a mix of those two would be kind of cool. For the people who don't know what Talk to Me is, I haven't finished it. These people, they have this this hand. I'll say
It's based off of the monkey paw.
Yeah, they have this hand pretty much. They grab it, they say talk to me, and I'll just say things happen. I'll just say that.
Dark and mysterious things.
Way to talk to the people on the other side.
Yeah.
But don't hold on too long.
I don't want to give any spoilers, so there's that.
I've seen trailers. That looks pretty messed up.
It was.
It was. We watched it.
It was messed up. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not going to say anything else because she said she didn't finish
I also
it, so
watch
good
horror
luck.
movies as I'm trying to go to sleep, so apparently I'm just messed up in the head.
That makes you a psychopath.
So, John, what would you do if you were making up your own urban legend to write into lore and scare modern kids who will think it's real someday?
I would work around some kind of a tale of caution to try to get them to not be the deviant little shitheads that so many of them are. I like the recurring theme. If you're a bad person, you do bad things are going to happen to you because of the choices you've made. So I would just kind of like Candyman or Bloody Mary, probably something like that. I like the idea of karma, so I would just build around something like that just to mess.
So you would go full Grimm's fairy tales, but not the Disney version.
No, I'm not a fan of Disney right now. My favorite Disney movie is Black Cauldron.
I think I've seen that one. It's a good one. So, Chloe, if you were going to make up your own urban legend.
I'm in the middle of a world building blitz in the second world fantasy that I'm doing, and I've been actually building an urban legend character right now who is a retired paladin. The type of character who sets down his sword and goes off into the wilderness on his own, never to return again, unless. And the stories of what this character off in the wilderness did before he retired from saving the world, and the adventures that he's had off in the wilderness continuing to save the world, and the things that would have to happen for him to come back and step in and make things right again. I want to put together a set of urban legend stories about this character and the giant cat he rides around on.
It's always a cat.
Giant cats are fun.
I mean, it worked for He-Man, so I guess.
Yeah.
So, James, what about you?
So I'm always drawn to like the long-lived observers. So kind of seeing how things change and grow. Also someone who might, dip out every now and then and come back, and, just kind of speculative interaction, that kind of thing. Like you never know who he is, what he's going to be, what he's going to do, that kind of thing. Just something loose and ethereal.
Okay. What about you, Nick?
I don't know, man. There's a lot of things you could do with this. I would like to do a little research on how far some of these urban legends go and where they're rooted at in history, and kind of see where it branched off. Because that's one of the things about urban legends. Like some of these are tales that go as far back as the Middle Ages, and they've been modernized. Like somebody hanging out in your back seat, that comes back from, travelers to the Holy Land and thieves and smugglers hopping in the back of the carts of the caravans going out to, Israel and stuff like that. So a lot of these things are rooted in history, and I'd like to find it and play with it, and maybe even something as simple as like somebody. There was an episode of Firefly called Janestown, where Jane was his own superhero, and it was because he was trying to pull a heist. And he became this folk legend. He became this urban legend amongst the mutters. So something like that would be entertaining to me, and I think it'd be entertaining to the audience as well, especially those that aren't familiar with Firefly. To have somebody that was like a caper gone wrong, and he just somehow ends up walking back into that town, and someone recognizes him. He's like this, he's this folk hero. Mm-hmm. But instead of revealing, right away, like they did in that episode, that Jane was that hero, it'd be like this guy would be bearded and dirty and kind of popperish, so no one would understand or even think that it was him. And he's just kind of like, man, I can't believe I'm this famous, and all I did was try to rob a bank or something, or so I'd probably play with something like that. Nothing says that urban legends have to be scary. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's local folklore of something that was fantastical to the people, and they just started to tell stories about it, and it becomes part of their history. So I think that would be something fun to play around with.
Okay. I don't know. For me, like according to the definition when we got for Wikipedia, which we've been using just because it's common and it's modern dictionary, it does imply that fear has to be associated with it. But I agree with you. I don't necessarily think it has to be. Although, most of these creatures, if you met them in person, would probably scare you. But just reading about them, maybe not so much. I don't know. I always like the idea of the Flying Dutchman, or like the ghost ship that just sort of haunting. And so I would probably play on something like that. Like, I don't know, what about like a World War II sub that, they didn't want to admit the war was over because going back to boring, mundane life was just boring. I mean, anybody that's lived in dangerous times knows that coming back where life is safe, it can just feel unfulfilling. Like you're not dancing with death every day. What's that?
I said I've been bored since 2005.
Me too, brother. And so I like the idea of them refusing to give up until they become almost eternal because they don't die. So you've got like this, I don't know, random submarine or some other kind of ghost ship that's just going around wrecking havoc. And it's like, oh, I see another, insert enemy country merchant ship. Let's sink it. So I don't know. I like the idea of the ghost ship with a mission. So even if the mission
skipped me.
Well, I didn't skip you. I was going to save the ladies for last.
You lie.
Would I do that?
Only when it's funny.
Oh, yeah. You skip me all the time.
I actually only skip you on the times Nick tells me to. Oh. I'm just throwing him under the bus.
Right under the head first under the bus.
I'm in all of the admins. You forget that.
Oh, shit. I mean, it's
remember,
Chloe's
Stabby,
fault.
I was nice to you.
It's Chloe's fault.
JR.
So to wrap this one up, I actually started an urban legend and it's still going today and it cracks me up every time I think about it.
Go on.
I was living in Oakville, Illinois in the Midwest, right in Tornado Alley. And we had peeping toms in our 2 square mile town where everybody grew corn and soy. That was it.
It was me.
And everybody's house was very like a German cottage, except for mine, which was a big square gray box. It was brick. Very Marissa. It was very, off the wall. It was just a big gray house. And we had peeping toms that swore that the big gray house was haunted. So they like to peep all the time. And I would catch all these little boys like stacked on top of each other like a cartoon character trying to peep through the windows. So I called their moms and I was like, hey, I'm going to scare your kids. I'm just letting you know. They keep peeping through my windows. I'm going to scare them. And they're like, go for it. We're going to film it.
That's good parenting.
That's excellent parenting.
I put on my wedding dress. And I just happened to have went to school for theatrical makeup. So I painted myself completely white, head to toe, put on my wedding dress, gave myself the blood dripping out of my hair, the blood dripping down my arms. And when I heard them all get stacked up, one on top of another, 5 boys, all peeping through my window, I came down my stairs. And I very slowly walked across the living room, into the kitchen, circled back, and then I ran out the window as fast as I could. Scared
them. Carry on them.
The mom sent me the video later. I no longer have it. I wish I did. But you see 5 boys stacked on top of each other, tumble backwards through my bushes and almost into the street.
Mm-hmm.
And they never peeped in my window again. But every once in a blue moon, I get a Facebook message saying the new people don't understand why everybody's scared of that house. The new people that bought the house don't know why everybody is scared of that house. And the whole town still tells the story of the lady in white in the gray house.
I mean, I might actually go there, recreate it just to keep the legend up. Just like, dude, I'll pay you $100 to let me rent this house.
Like, hey, can I borrow your
wedding dress?
Let me know if you need any help.
That would be awesome.
I haven't lived there in over 10 years.
Oh, that's glorious. All right.
Yep, the lady in white in the gray house.
As we bring this puppy home, we're gonna let everyone say what they're working on and what they got coming out. So, Chloe, what are you writing right now, and how can people find you?
I am working on a pastoral fantasy in my Veridan universe about magical horses and the nomadic people who tend them and breed them, and the long stories that go on in those cultures. You can find me on Facebook or on my website, Blender Fiction. And I would love to have people come hop on and see what I've got going on.
Outstanding. And we will link all of that in the show notes. John, what about you? What are you writing right now?
Right now, I'm working on a Spider-Man page that Nick and I were teaching yesterday, and I'm looking to blow everybody else out of the water. I know it's not a competition, but I wasn't happy with what I drew last
You're gonna
night.
blow me out of the water, dude. Come on, bro.
Well, we'll see.
He just said bring your A game, buddy.
Either way, I wasn't happy with what I did last night, so I'm waiting
No,
for
you had
my
a good
current.
layout going.
I'm working on Spider-Man and Doc Ock because I'm waiting for my comic campaign to start going. I think middle of the month. It's going to be Tales of the Collective. It's an anthology series, and I'm going to have a 6-page. I'm not sure what the proper term is, but it's a supplemental story to the Exodus Z comic book that I recently did, and that's going to be kind of the go-between between issues 1 that's already out, and we'll be starting 2 within the next week or so.
Okay. And how can they find you on the interwebs? And we will link that on the show notes.
Seclusion Studios on, I think, all the main sites: Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Threads.
That's still a thing?
I think so. I don't know.
Okay.
I was getting responses for like a week or two when I first joined, and after that, it's just like, all right, it's like all the other sites.
Okay. All right. And we would ask Maddie Stabby, but Witsec called us very angry that we did that. So, we learned our lesson.
I mean,
all right,
I can tell you what I'm working on.
You could. Why don't you do that? But no contacts, because Witsec scares me.
I live in the shadows anyways. You can't find me. I'm currently working on. I'm still working on a Scream 5 remake script. Completely new storyline, new ghost faces, new everything besides characters. I'm keeping the same characters. So far, I'm pretty far along in that now. I'm hoping to upload it soon so I can show all my friends and family.
Outstanding. And James, last but not least, what are you working on and how can they find you?
All right, so most recently I'm working on the 3rd arc of the Felix Chance series. It's going to be called Off Chance. I'm also working on 2 other web serials that I write, and I just had an anthology come out with my horror story in it. It's called Behind the Shadows. My story in it is the Iron Sigh, and guess what it's about? The Dybbuk. So that's just fresh out the end of September, just in time for Halloween. Behind the Shadows from Inked Publishing. And you can find me on the Facebooks at J.E. Pittman Writes. On the others at j.e.pittman. And my website is halfacrepond.com or jepittman.com, since it's just going to link to the main site.
Do you have a half acre on a pond? Or was it Ralph Emerson who inspired that?
A little bit of all of the above. I have enough space for one. I'm trying to get the pond going, and it's just an old story. It features heavily in all of my writing. It just kind of gets a throw in.
Okay. All right. And Nick, we haven't asked you recently. What the hell are you writing these days?
Oh, God. What am I working on?
His memoirs.
You just finished Bengali 3, so I know because that one should have finished by the time this airs.
Yeah. So I'm working. I'll be working on 3 comic books. It's going to take me a while because I'm drawing all 3 of these. Well, 2.5. One was half drawn, and then the artist went the way of Roanoke and just disappeared on me.
What a wiener.
I didn't pay him all. I paid him per page, thank God. Otherwise, I would have been out some cash. But I'm working on.
Yeah,
I know a guy if you need any help.
Yeah.
Can you afford him, though? That's the question.
I don't know. See, that's the problem. John's expensive. He's the most expensive whore I know.
Hey, you get what you pay for, man.
That's how most artists view themselves. We're definitely prostitutes, our clientele are, we call them Johns, and we're just doing art horse stuff. But
hey, I've got a Mustang addiction I need to pay for, okay?
Yeah, and I got a terrible need. So that's a Malcolm Reynolds reference. Corvid and Sparrow is what I'm working on, along with the second issue of the Crimson Guardian, starring the Cardinal, and the second issue of my favorite character that I created, the Phantom Hawk, issue 2. So essentially, I'm 3 days out of, like, I alternate. So I'm drawing Corvid and Sparrow, then the next day I'm working on Crimson Guardians, and then the next day I'm doing Phantom Hawk, and I'm just going to do that until either the books come out or I die. So whichever comes first.
So I just got back the full edits from our linguists for Operation Copass, which is the first. And right now it's Wargate. They haven't seen it, so they might not like it. Who knows? I'm publishing it either way because I love the story. But basically, Modern Striker Brigade and Fantasy Egypt. So the gods are real. We just got the first book is done. We just got the edits back from the Arab linguist specialist. Yeah, I can't speak tonight. To make sure we got the syntax right and all the things. And then he gave us the pronunciation guide so our narrator doesn't hate us for some of the Arabic expressions that are in there. I've learned that you don't want your narrator to be mad at you. They charge you more if you make them too mad. Because if you make their job. And so we got we had to get the language for the Australians, because if I wrote how they really speak, there would be so many C words in there that Amazon would be like, this is too graphic, I will not publish it. So I had to balance American sensibilities with how the Aussies really speak. They use the C word like we use the F word. And then
casual conversation.
Yeah, and then
dog that sometimes.
The literati crowd likes to use sensitivity readers. Well, for an Australian, you need an insensitivity reader, so I had to get him to do that for me as well. He's like, yeah, this guy's not mean enough, totally not Australian, you got to do better, that kind of thing. So we just got all those edits back that I'll have to go through, and then I am deep into book 2. My plan is to finish book 2 under Nano in November. That'll be hit me to 100,000 words, and then be halfway through book 3 in December, because Mama needs a new pair of shoes and I got to get paid. Mm-hmm. And it's stuck in my head for so long. I just need it out so the new voices can have room to talk. And then Nick and I, because we didn't have enough going on, started throwing around an idea for a space exploration comic, because who needs sleep?
Why not?
Overrated.
Sleep is underrated. Yeah. So this is the part of the interview, dear listener, dear viewer, where I remind you to please be kind and speak your mind on the reviewing platforms. Your reviews help the right readers find the right books. So do your part, people. And if you wanted to follow us on the interwebs, if you haven't already, we are on Linktree, linktr.ee, Linktree/Blasters and Blades Podcast. Again, Linktree/Blasters and Blades Podcast, where we link to all the things, the BitChute, the Rumbles, the Twitters, the Facebook group. We have a email at blastersandbladespodcast@gmail.com. Apparently, I did not link that yet, so I'll have to go and fix that. But that is our email for serious inquiries only. Madam Stabby Stabs Instagram and Twitter are linked in the link tree, so you can send all the hate mail to her now that we have that. And finally, we have our website at anchor.fm/blasters-blades. Again, anchor.fm/blasters-blades, where for as little as 99 cents a month, you can help keep the lights on. You can keep Stabby and I duly caffeinated. We will drink the coffee until our heads explode, and Nick has to clean up the pieces. It is that good. He does not have blueberries. Yeah, he doesn't have the discerning palate we do, Stabby. Like, he's just not as civilized.
I like coffee-flavored coffee.
He enjoyed the blueberry coffee this morning. Don't let him trick you. Blueberry coffee this morning. He had half of the pot. I'm just saying.
I do not have half the pot. I do not have half the pot. You're lying out your ass.
All right. We'll have to get the play-by-play of that later. And again, you can support us over at the Blasters, anchor.fm/blasters-and-blades. Or you can support the show more directly at buymeacoffee.com/author J.R. Handley. Again, buymeacoffee.com/author J.R. Handley. Be sure to put in the comment section that it is for the podcast. I promise I will keep my co-hosts duly caffeinated. They will drink until, well, I'd say they can't drink no more, but they're not quitters. So I just want you to know that. And with that being said, thank you for spending some of your precious time with us. For my crazy co-host, who may or may not survive this marital dispute, I am J.R. Handley, and this was the Blasters and Blades podcast. We'll be back next.
In her hand. She's fine.
Yeah, we'll be back next week at the same time where we'll indulge our love of nerd culture, cheesy jokes, and he's done for, and all things that
nice
go
knowing
boom.
you, buddy.
Nice knowing you, Nick. I know you saved my life in Iraq, but I don't know that I'm going to make it before she can stab you to try to return the favor. Sorry.
Welcome death.
At least you won't have to pay taxes no more.
Exactly.
John, Chloe, James, Maddie, thank you for coming on. We appreciate it. We'll have to have you back again for some more shenanigans.
Of course.
I'm all about shenanigans.
Outstanding. And with that, we bid you adieu. And we're